Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another installment of 41 Avenue. Today we are chilling with none other than the SRC, the Student Representative Council of Stellenbosch Academy of Design and Photography. So basically we're just gonna chop it up, chit chat, and see what they have in store for us. I'm just gonna give the members just to introduce themselves and tell us what they do so that we can find out a little bit more about themselves. Take it away.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jett, Jooste. I am a third year photography major. I'm on the SRC as well. And yeah, happy to be here today.
An interesting fact about you?
Interesting fact about me is that before I came to the academy, I had never touched a camera before.
Interesting, yeah.
I'm learning new things here. Hi, my name is Marie. I'm a third year graphic design student. And an interesting fact about me is I used to have braces, and then after my braces got removed, I found out the orthodontist rotated one of my teeth 130 degrees without telling me. And I found that out 2 years later at a dentist office. Super fun.
That must have been painful.
Yeah, fun fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi everybody, my name is Sasha, Sasha-Leigh Draai. Fun fact about me is I've never broken a bone in my body. So, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, very strong. And you also in graphic design?
I am in graphic design third year and part of the SRC. So, yeah, that's me.
Okay, great. We're just going to take it down through memory lane. And I'd just like to find out, what made you guys choose the design route? Has that always been a dream from a very young age, or you sort of stumbled upon it?
Okay, I'll go first. I never thought about art. I never did anything art related. I was very, I did science in high school, went to go and study language after that, and dropped out in my third year, found out I actually really enjoy the creative space. And I decided to come to the academy, and it was a really good choice. Yeah.
Okay, and how did you find out about the academy?
So my sister studied here, and she was also a lecturer here. So I came along to an open day, and I thought that I would enjoy this.
Okay. And how was the transition from what you studied coming into a creative space? Because it's definitely two different aspects. It's not the same identity as far as profession is concerned. How did you find migrating from English major to a creative space?
It was a big change. Definitely the environment. Coming in here was a shock to me because I'd never been in a space with creatives. I didn't know how they thought, didn't know how they worked. But it was very encouraging, and there was a lot of room for growth. I enjoyed the personal interaction. And obviously in university, you are one of hundreds.
Of course, if not thousands.
Yeah, and here you are, you're able to connect with people, and that was something I struggled with when I was studying at university, is that just making friends or just engaging with people in your class, and that made it a lot easier. And also seeking out information from your peers and also your lecturers. There's a kind of a rapport that you've built, so you feel comfortable doing that. Okay,
and you feel that the academy having a tight-knit and smaller community compared to big universities with thousands of students, did you feel that it helped you adjust a little bit better, or you had an indirect support system?
Definitely. There's a lot more support here, whether it's in lecturing or just student support. I think that it's not difficult to seek out. So it's a lot easier asking for help, asking for direction, and that makes it a lot easier to also be yourself and learn what you want to do.
All right, thank you. Sasha, on to you.
So I came across the academy because I have a very very supportive family, and my mom's in HR. So from since I was in grade 10, I started job shadowing just to kind of get a feel of where I want to be in life and how I can contribute in the talents that I have. Because I went to just get like a perspective of like how I can help out in like my community and how I can use like my skills and educational skills to just help. So I was like viewed as more of like a all-rounder, so I could like go into any different sphere and space. So when I came across the academy, I was doing like a job shadowing in like marketing, and I really just loved the analytical part of it, as well as the creative and brainstorming kind of field in like the collaborative space that the creative industry has, and it's very like dynamic. So I love like that anybody can like tell their story, and there's different like storytelling that people can share. So it's like I can contribute in that way. When I came into the academy, I was like, there's so many different stories and there's so many things to celebrate. So that's where I was like, I want the academy to be like my home, my place, and I'm so fortunate to be and to grow in this space. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you would say that the academy sort of like convinced you to go this direction.
Yes.
It helped you narrow down your decision.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. In some communities or in some homes, creative routes are seen as a non-traditional career route or an unsafe option, where they would recommend that you do the traditional stuff like doctors, psychologists, or anything other than the creative direction. So do you feel that, did your family take it as well as you would have liked them to?
So my family is like, I'm a very family orientated person, and my family's been a very like essential part of my life and growing up. So I even like live with them like now doing the student life, going to school and going back home. Like they're a very big part of my life. So my family fortunately has always given me like the tools and the motivation to chase after my dreams, and they've basically given me like that umbrella to like just go forth and like look to the sky, like the sky is not the limit and I can reach for what I want. So they've been very supportive in like motivating me to go after this creative journey. And even like my father, he's like also a very big inspiration to me, because he didn't have like the educational background to go into graphic design, and that's where he wanted to go into. So like I'm also just like as a an eldest daughter, I'm also taking on his dream. So like I feel like there's a lot of support in that like sense of like growing up in a like colored household. Like we like I didn't have that like hindering sphere of like not being able to go after what my heart is wanting. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's beautiful. And Marie?
Sure, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I love your family as well. I've met your mom; she's great. My mom is an art teacher, so I grew up around art, and she also paints. And my dad loves photography. My brother also takes photos, but he won't admit it. And he's really good. But I grew up in a very creative household. And I think I always knew I wanted to do something creative, but I didn't necessarily know I wanted to be a graphic designer. I thought about like journalism for a while. And I think I came to an open day in grade 10 here, and I couldn't stop talking about it. I was so excited about the space I grew. I was in like a very like strict, like normal public school. And this was like a totally different environment. And I just felt like this is a place where I could be very creative. And my parents were always very supportive, and they were like, girl, if you want to do this, we'll make a plan. So yeah, and I'm here now. So I think I made the right choice.
Okay, yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, so reflecting on your journey so far, how was your vision for your future as a designer evolved since first year at the academy? Like from when you saw yourself coming in, not knowing what the majors were, what direction are you going to take, versus now when it's more narrowed down, you might have a more specific idea of which direction you want to go, which industry you want to go, which field you want to go.
I think coming into the academy in first year, doing everything, I was a bit overwhelmed. I really didn't know where to go, what I wanted to do. When we had practicals, I found out I really enjoyed being in the studio. And I think they normally tell you in first year, it's going to get better. You are going to get to do things that you want to do, that you are going to enjoy. And at the start, I didn't really see that because we were just knocking briefs out to try and get through first year. And as soon as second year came around, there was a lot more creative freedom. And I think that also led into me using a lot of my environment and my experiences in my work. And I think that just also encouraged me to make more work about that, and also to kind of find a like specific way of expressing myself and doing that in a unique way. And I think that's what we've been able to do up until third year now. And definitely happy that has happened. First year me would be very happy to find out that I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
That's great. And then with all the extra resources that the Academy provides, like ARC, which is the Academic Resource Center, and one-on-one consultations, what is the most valuable tool that that helped you, or that you feel that is the most valuable to you, that you're like, this, I could not have done it without this resource?
I think for me, it has to be being seen and being like acknowledged, like your identity and who you are, your personhood, and taking that into your art so that people have background and context, and also in that being encouraged to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Marie? Surprised?
Hi, I'm back. Sure. Wait, what was the question?
So reflecting from the vision that you saw yourself coming in first year versus the outcome, or what you envision for yourself right now in third year.
Wow, I think Sasha will agree, but I feel like you get to the end of third year and it's so overwhelming to think about what's the next step. But looking back, I think we've grown so much. I was I'm still shy, but I was very shy in first year. I barely raised my hand in class.
Says the chairperson of the SRC.
I know, but that's the behind the scenes work. I'm still shaking and my face is red, I know. But I think the Academy sees every person as an individual, and in that I think the space to grow is so big, whereas I think in larger like university spaces, you're just another person and another number. And I think it's harder to grow in like that personal sense, maybe. I don't know, I haven't been there. But I think I'm proud of like the steps I've made, and whatever comes next, I'm excited for it. And I'll let you know how it goes when I get there.
Definitely. We're
That's
looking
about all I can
for
say.
you in the alumni program.
Yeah, I'll come back for another episode.
Yeah. And for you?
I think from like comparing myself from when I started and now, like I think like the common piece is like I'm always wanting to be like a sponge and just like absorb everything that like is at our like, you know, reach. And the beautiful thing about the Academy is they are very personal, and they do like see you, like Jett has said, and that you know, they like really do motivate you to think out of the box and think uniquely and be set apart and be like your true self. So looking back from when I started, I did like kind of also feel overwhelmed, and I was like kind of like, you know, I haven't touched art in a long time. I didn't take art in school. So I felt kind of like an imposter and had that syndrome kind of. But then I was like, you know, the Academy has chosen you, and you are elected among of like probably many applicants. So like rather take this journey as like a stepping stone and like a learning curve, and be a lifelong learner, and just just have fun with it and take it day by day.
Okay. Beautiful. And then anyone can answer this question. Like, what is the SRC about? Like, what's going on there?
Do I get to say my rhyme? Yeah,
You can.
my final time. No, I'm joking. So the SRC is the voice of the students, which is like, I'm almost going to say the slogan at this point. But we try to be the place students go with any issue they have, any question, every like idea they have that they don't know how to go about it. So we try to make the student life at the Academy as like beneficial and as comfortable for everyone as possible. So whether that's hosting events or answering questions and uncertainties or taking up bigger issues to management that students can't deal with on their own. I think that's the general idea of the SRC.
Okay. What has been like the most impactful or most important or special experience for you in the SRC?
I think stepping up of like out of like just like, you know, in the like sea of students and being on a like not a podium, but like you are like here to make a difference and you are here to like stand up and like take charge of like what students are wanting and needing. So it's been like for me, I've like it's always like standing up for like your values, but also standing up as an extension of the academy's values and what they want to represent and give to the students.
I think for me, coming into the SRC, I think when I even stood for SRC and applied for it, I think for me the most important thing was representation, and also seeing that in not just my year, but seeing like people feel comfortable coming up to you, speaking to you, random people, and also just saying that they feel more comfortable speaking to you. And I think that's what it's about, having more people to actually listen to the students and also like make that whatever vision they have, make that happen or help them
Bring it to life.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so this was only the third year that we've had an SRC, and I think we're still very young. And I think the best thing was being a part of this growth, and seeing how each year we implement more things and more things change and more things get added. And it's a process. So sometimes things don't work out, but getting to be part of that learning and that growth, I think is really special. And I think we also grew a lot as as people. I think in like confidence and also in empathy for others. I think I learned a lot about not just my own needs, but others. And yeah.
And then you feel that will come in handy in industry when you go professional,
definitely
in the job space.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of skills that can be implemented in a bunch of other places.
Okay. And then how do you guys, I mean, being a designer is a lot of work, you know. I mean, I'm not a creative.
And a photographer.
And a photographer. Yes. I mean, they design through the lens. So
that's true. That's true.
That's my interpretation.
That's very deep and poetic.
Yeah. I'm not a creative, but sometimes I find that coming up with an idea in my head, unstructured, to wormhole, things flying around a big galaxy, and taking that, putting it on paper and making it a step-by-step or a solid idea before implementing that. And that's just like an idea. And when it comes to design, you guys, I don't know how many things you've designed from first day until now and how many things you'll design in your career, but designing is a big responsibility. So how do you guys juggle SRC responsibilities and this tremendous journey of design?
I think it's, for me going into it, it was also a decision I needed to think about, especially whether I can balance workload, which was important for me. Third year is very important, but I think it was a very necessary step. Not only did we grow, build relationships across like designing and things like that, but I think it was also necessary because sometimes you just come to the table with just an idea and it's carried forward or given like more thought to it by everyone around you at the table. And I think balancing it's really an art. I don't think any one of us, well, I can speak for myself, I've not mastered it, but it's definitely interesting and it also keeps you on your toes. Like really the expectation or like learning how to like work with people and also in a space, in a group, in a team. Yeah, I think it's seeing what works. But balancing the two, I don't think for myself, I'm not gotten it right yet, but
but you're working on it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a perfect recipe, but I think we all have a lot of respect and a lot of love for each other, and we know that everyone is busy and if you do need a helping hand, there's always someone that's having a bit of a quieter time that can pick up for you or whatever. So I think it's about teamwork and communication and being honest. Most of the time, it's not a big issue, and we can move something on a week, or we can make a plan. There's always a plan to be made to fix something. So yeah.
All right. And then I'm going to take it back to the classroom a little bit, because I know you guys do a lot of briefs with clients from outside. How does that work? Just explain it to me. Like, I have no idea what that means. When a client comes from outside, like, hey, I want to do a brief, or what that is.
So we're actually currently doing a campaign, social media campaign for a client, and the process starts as like the lecturer gives us a brief with like our deliverables and outcomes, and just summarizes what the brief entails, and the client will also just explain what their expectations are, and us as designers or photographers, as the creatives, we will start with the brainstorming and the ideation phase, and try to think of ways that or different and unique propositions to the initial idea and the problem that needs to be solved. And we need to like brainstorm and come up with like more than like 3. So like our lecturer always like tries to challenge us to think of things that are bigger and better, or like things that aren't or couldn't be interpreted through our own lens. So I think like from like the initial start of like speaking one-on-one with the clients, you get like a a personal intake of like what the brand is about, and like you find like similarities or differences that can that isn't compared to their competitors. So like from the brainstorming and ideation, you just go on this creative journey with them, which is full of fun and full of like also learning and exploration.
Okay, Marie.
Ooh, okay. What I like about client briefs is it's always interesting to see people that are in the industry or have these brands or whatever you're working on. And usually they're very like, not, what's the word I'm looking for? Protective, but they really care about the brand, and it's almost palpable, and you really start to also care about them because it's a real life brand and they have their clients and the people they're speaking to. And it's really interesting then seeing how your designs and your ideas can then possibly be implemented and used in the real world. And I think it's a really great way to almost practice what real life's going to be like when we start working. And I think I've learned a lot about speaking to clients, which can be very different than like just pitching an idea in class. And you need to be a bit more sensitive depending on what the topic is or what you're trying to pitch. I think we've learned a lot of skills in that area as well.
Okay, Jett, coming from design to the lens side.
Yeah, I think in photography, client briefs for us in the past 2 years has definitely changed every single time we work with clients. Obviously with added factors of us learning more. And I think this year we did 2 client briefs, and it's necessary for you to interact with clients to figure out how things are going to work. I found it quite difficult, I won't lie. But it's also just figuring out and working with a client, figuring out how you have a unique perspective of this, how you are not just going to put something down and just take a photo of it. And really the thought process of pitching that, coming up with an idea and knowing what you're going to do with it, like technically how you're going to take the photo, what works best for their product, and also sitting down with them, figuring out what they want, what they like, what they don't like. And yeah, it's a lot of room for interpretation, but also you need to have an idea of what you want to do and what the client wants to do. Yeah.
Okay. And then like coming out of graduation, do you guys see yourselves placed in a firm, working in a partnership, a collaboration, freelancing? what do you guys feel like? Where do you guys see yourselves? Because I know that so in the classroom, when you are given a brief, you design something and you design what you want and how you feel, and you bring your ideas into the space. But when you're working with a client, they have their own ideas of what they want, and also this brand identity. So the outcome of the brief is, it has to be in line with what the brand identity is, so do you guys feel like, is that something that you want to do under an umbrella at first, early in your career, and then work your way out, or like you just see yourself as an industry giant, being a CEO, running Duke, and doing this and that?
Yeah, that's big stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, maybe I'm just joking, but I think coming out of the academy, I think I'm always gonna have that like lifelong learning and approach to things, and finding out like how to like just follow the lead of others. It's also like, as a SRC member, we are leading and we are guiding, but it's also very important, I think, to have an attentive ear and listen, and like be able to be like a catalyst, and like also just follow other people's leads. And I feel like when you come into contact with like a client, and what Marie mentioned, that like they are very like protective of their identity and their brand. So it's a very like you have to be very careful when you approach it. But it's like, I feel like speaking for myself, I work well when I'm like instructed to do this, that, and the other, and rather than trying to get lost in like my own creative journey, because that like takes
too much. Yeah.
a long time. Like the all-nighters that I've experienced doing briefs are too much. The monster, the energy drinks, but it has calmed down. I think I'm trying to like, not indulge in that too much. But I think, just being instructed and being able to like be guided and be led is also like a very important like your skill to have and a value as a creative. And I think like for myself, I would probably work best working under an umbrella of an agency, looking out into the creative space.
Okay. All right. Jett?
This for me has changed quite a bit over this year. I don't really see myself working like in commercial photography. I think this is something that I found out throughout this year. I think I want to move more into the fine art space. I'd like to see myself in a couple of years to be able to call myself as an academic within the field of photography.
Like an industry expert.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot for me to learn. There's a lot of reading to do. But I think that I enjoy creating work that I want to do. I like the freedom of that. I like that I can play around with different parts or different ways of making art and not just taking a photo. And I think that's going to lead to me going more into being or labeling myself as an artist or just like a creative and doing that. But definitely commercial's not my first like
go-to space.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't work well in that space.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Do I also have to answer?
Of course you have to answer. You're
Well,
the chairperson.
I'm excited for Jett to be an academic. I'll reference you in my next paper. Joking. I think I definitely want to start working in an agency if things go well. I think there's a lot to learn about the industry in general, and working with clients and working on multiple different things. The nice thing about the academy is we usually just have one brief at a time, but unfortunately, reality is very rarely that nice to you. What I love about working in like bigger groups is so many different perspectives, and sometimes that can be challenging, but it's also leads to very exciting and very different ideas than you ever could have come up on your own. So I think that's where I'm headed to, at least for the next 2 years, and then we'll see what goes on after that. But yeah, I think it'll be exciting, and I don't think it's necessarily restricting to get like a brief and a client and a set thing. I think sometimes working within limitations can lead to some very interesting things.
Okay. And then just focusing on the content a little bit, I mean, do you guys feel that the content you guys receive in class is relevant? Because obviously the industry or the creative space is always evolving, growing, and new trends and different styles and outlooks, be it fashion, be it brands, be it advertising, is always evolving. Do you guys feel that the content that is given to you in the learning space, do you feel that it's relevant or it's just academics?
Okay, I think for me, I don't think it's just academic. I think we are very fortunate to also have someone who has a foot in the industry and is also lecturing. So we get a lot of information from him. And also being a photographer, technology, how things work, it changes literally all the time. So also being aware of the fact that you need to keep up with trends, know what's going on, and also keep that in mind when creating any art as well. But I think for us, it's definitely a bit of both. We do the academic part, and there's a lot of room also for just looking at work and interpreting and talking about it, because I think that's also where a lot of ideas come from. Yeah.
Okay. And then on your guys' side, on the design aspect, because you guys work a lot with clients in the design industry, do you feel that helps you? Do you feel that it helps you guys create or learn more when people from industry who are in the actual spaces come in and bring in briefs? Do you feel that that type of work they bring in for you guys is relevant, or it's just a brief they bring for you guys to sort of like teach you or give you experience?
I think it's a mix of things. I think there's a lot to be learned in a client brief, and sometimes it depends on very much on what they're looking for, whether you are experimenting more with something you don't know or aren't familiar with, or if you're sticking to things that you are really good at. But we've only had 2 client briefs this year. I know the art directors do a lot more, like working with creative directors and those kinds of people. And I think that's also very interesting. And a different side, we've been working more with like marketing sides of, but it's interesting to see a business perspective on how that is sometimes more realistic, and then them being like, hey, we have this budget, so keep that in mind when you're designing. And sometimes when you're working with restrictions, like I said earlier, interesting things happen and you design more creatively within that budget. But sometimes it can be limiting, but luckily there's versatility. So sometimes you're doing absolutely crazy briefs and you get to be so unrealistic with what you want, and you get to experiment. And then on the other side, doing something a bit more restrictive can be interesting. And different sides of it.
Okay. You're speaking of budget, someone that is not familiar with the design space, because you as a creative is sitting there with your resources, your electronics or whatever it is, and internet, and you design. That literally requires you to be sitting down there and creating. So what would the budget be for? Like, what other additional resources would you need to perform these tasks the client is looking for? Just like a broad.
Yeah, so it depends. It's also very dependent on like how the work is set out. So obviously most designers work by hour. If you're working in an agency, you'll write down your hours and you get paid. That is factored into what they ask the client to pay in the end. But then if you decide, like, there's always costs to printing things, costs to social media, all those things that are like getting those things to run. There's different factors to how those things are costed, but generally they'll come in with a budget of, I don't know, whatever they have. And then they'll say, this is what we have. We want this much for social media and this much for posters and banners. And then we're hoping to run like an ad campaign over YouTube or whatever. And then you work from that and you work kind of work back to see how much time and how much effort do you put into each thing.
Okay, so yeah, the reason why I asked that question was to give an idea to our viewers, people that want to get into the design space, just so that they have an idea of how things work. Just before we go, what changes or initiatives are you most proud of during your time in the SRC?
Yeah, there's a lot to be proud of. I feel like first off, I'm thankful for my SRC members and them always supporting me, and being a part of a team is always such a an empowerment. One of my exciting parts of being on the SRC is also the contribution to the community. So when we had the storm relief project, we opened the donations to the students to just bring clothes and warm things to just give back to the communities that were affected by the storms. So it was great to see the outcome of how students also just want to give back and contribute. So that was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, touching communities even outside of this building. Okay, that's great. And then before we go, last one, I promise. What advice would you have for a youngster that wishes to partake in the design industry, that would like to take this direction or have a creative bone but don't know how to harness it?
I think all I can say is something that I wish I heard or someone told me, is that just make it, just do it, even if you don't know how, and you want to learn something, just make it, just do it. And yeah.
Okay.
I would say that just like what Jett was saying, just make it, just do it, because you never know who also enjoys your content or who just sees and appreciates your work. I would also just say be kind to yourself, don't be too hard on yourself. There's so much that you have to offer, and then just be the difference that you want to see in the world as well. It's
Yeah, I think you've all said very nice things. But I think I had a lot of fear of failure and fear of starting. And I think I still have that sometimes, and being hard on myself. But I think just experimenting, remembering why you started, why it's fun, why this means something to you, and using that as motivation to keep going. And eventually one day you'll like what you've done and you'll be proud of it. But you just have to get over that fear and just start. Yeah.
I think also one last thing, something that I think in the creative space people tend to forget about, or that I've also experienced, is that time is really not a factor. I mean, I see it as I wasted a lot of time, but I mean, if something's meant for you, it's going to happen. I'm 27 in third year, so I mean, really don't rush it. Don't rush it.
No wrinkles yet.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. And this has been a really fruitful conversation. And to our viewers at home, thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Themba signing out from 41 Avenue, where ideas have space. Good day.